Hello everybody, James Cards FC here. Thanks for clicking on today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about different strategies in the soccer market and why we end up with sales like what we just saw this morning with the Sidney Raebiger 1/1 Superfractor from Topps Chrome selling for $14,400 while Messi rookies in high grades and sometimes in PSA 10 sell for less than that. So today I want to do a quick discussion on why this happens and what we can learn from it about different strategies that are happening in our soccer market. So without further ado, let's get into the introduction here. I posted the following question on my Instagram story this morning after seeing the sale, and we have this graphic right here. I say, what do we have here? And on the left-hand side, I posted the Sidney Raebiger 1/1 that sold for $14.4 thousand up against the Messi number 89 Mega Cracks rookie card from the Barca Campeón set in PSA 10 and the Messi Mega Cracks 71 Biz in PSA 8. Both of these combined sells for just about the exact same amount as this Raebiger does. So with that, I asked the question, you've been blessed with $14,400. Which of these do you buy? And my audience that I have, I think this was a few hundred different votes, said 7% the Raebiger 1/1 and 93% the Messi PSA 8 plus PSA 10. So that basically says what I just already said. The results here, they don't surprise me. If anything, I expected the Raebiger to be even lower. I believe during the first hour or so, Raebiger was less than 3%, but it's come up to around 7% as the poll has started to even out and reach some more people. So, yeah, I expected Raebiger to be even lower, but not surprising to me that his vote rate is at 7%. So, this begs the question, obviously, which is the correct answer? And so, there's no right answer to this question. It really depends. And this is something that I struggled with when I first thought about this, because when I created this poll, I was thinking to myself, why on earth would you spend 14.4K on that Raebiger card when you could have the Messi rookies for the same price? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why anybody would pay that price for the Raebiger card. They're probably really dumb and don't know what they're doing. And no, that's not the case at all, and that's not what's happening here. And so I wanted to do a little more detailed analysis of why this is the case and why it does actually make some sense that the Raebiger sells for this price, and why in some cases it might actually be a better play depending on what your goals are in the market. So when first looking at this question, you might think to yourself, as I did, that Raebiger will never be as good as Messi, which is correct. Messi is a much better investment in the long run than Raebiger is. That's probably correct. But not 100% sure on that one. It's probably correct, though. And the third point here is you'd be foolish to spend 14.4K on that Raebiger. And that's where we move into this more not so black and white range when you start thinking about why somebody paid this amount of money and what could happen in the future for this card. So if you're buying the Raebiger, you are not saying that you think Raebiger will be a better player than Messi. And so getting that out of the way first, the person that bought this for 14.4K and the people that bid it up with them to get to 14.4K were not doing it because they see this card and they're like, oh my god, Raebiger is going to be better than Messi, he's going to be the best player in the world, I'm going to spend whatever it takes to get this card. That's not how they're looking at this. They are looking at this in, at least in my opinion, they're looking at this in this way. You now own the best Raebiger card currently on the market until some more other sets come out, and even when they do, this is probably still a top 5 card that'll ever be released for him in his rookie season. So for the foreseeable future over the next few months, you own the best Raebiger card on the market. If Raebiger hype increases over the short term, you likely can find a great exit point for this card, specifically because you can point to this sale right here and say, I bought this card for 14.4K when he had no hype. Now he's a clear top 5 player in this rookie class, or top 3 or top 1, whatever happens with him in a best case scenario outcome where he becomes one of the hottest players in the product. You say something like that and then say it should be worth 20K at least, 30K at least, whatever it ends up being. Since I bought this when there was no hype and now he is a top 3 or 4 player in the set, it should now be worth 20, 30, 40K, whatever you want to put the valuation on there. And you only need to find one person to value that card for more than what you paid. So you bought this when Raebiger really has no hype. He gets a little bit of hype. You can maybe look to move this onto somebody that then sees the same value that you had in it, and potentially more value, and then they're probably looking at it as, Raebiger had a few good months. This card I can now get for 20K. Maybe if he has a few more good months, I can then flip it to somebody else for 25K, and the potato just keeps getting hot potatoed and passed down the line and down the line and down the line until eventually somebody is going to be sitting with this for an extended period of time, I would assume. But this first person here has the first sale at 14.4K, and if Raebiger hype increases at all, they are probably in a great position to capitalize on it and be able to move this onto another person that will then carry that hot potato as it goes through the line. So, is this play risky? Yes, this is inherently a very risky thing to do, unless, of course, you already have somebody lined up that you know is going to pay, I don't know, 16, 17K for it immediately after the auction. That's a possibility, but other than that, yes, this is a risky play. Anything could happen to Raebiger. He could go back to Division 4, and nobody hears about him for another year. He could get injured. A million different things could happen. But you also have the upside if his hype increases really at all. You have an entry point to point to and say, I bought this when there was no hype. It should now be worth more. And you only need one person to believe you when it comes to that, and only one person has to be willing to front the money. So, yes, risky play, but wrong. No, definitely not wrong in the sense that you should never do this and it makes absolutely no sense. It does make some sense if you run it through this scenario down here, which is what I believe everybody bidding on this card had in mind. So, let's move to the market strategy of why you would prefer the Messi cards to the Raebiger card. And this, in my opinion, is the side I would go with, but I'm a more risk-averse kind of person, and I believe my audience looks at things at least the majority of my audience looks at things in a similar way than I do, so I won't spend too much time on this. If you select the Messi cards, you're probably thinking about this from a long-term hold perspective. There's no doubt that Messi will be the better player than Raebiger in the long run, but over the short term, Messi cards could continue to dip, and perhaps they could even dip for years before market conditions improve. But if you believe in the soccer market in the long run, you have to believe in these Messi cards, because if these Messi cards aren't the ones going up in value, I don't know what in the world the soccer card market values are doing, because this is one of the top 4 players of all time. Clearly, he's going to be one of the most popular players in the market. He already is. He basically has his own market of sorts. And so if you believe in the market, you believe in Lionel Messi cards. If you don't believe in the market, you probably don't believe in these cards. It's that simple if you want to look at it from a long-term perspective. But your upside in the short term is a lot lower than with the Raebiger for a few different reasons. Messi is already defined in what his legacy is. He's unlikely to be able to add to it in a significant manner. Even if he wins the World Cup, I don't see these cards, due to the population reports, doubling or tripling over that short period in time. I don't think that would make a lot of sense, just given the populations and where the market conditions are at. So over the short term, your upside is probably much lower than the Raebiger is, but your downside in both the short and long term is also much lower. That's for these reasons down here. With Raebiger, you're fighting on multiple fronts. You're fighting on the player performance front that he has to perform. You're fighting against other card releases that will come out and make this card less valuable. So even if this card is still seen as a top 3 card in the market, it's not going to be as valuable as when it's a top 1 card in the market, at least in my opinion. But it all depends on how you want to rank out all his rookie issues that will come out. So you'll be competing with those as more of them come out. And then, of course, market conditions, you're competing on that front as well. If the soccer card market is really down, it's probably not going to matter that you paid 14.4K for this and now he's doing better. If the market is down, people are just going to say, well, the market's down, so I'm not going to pay what it was before when the market conditions were much better. So with Raebiger, you're fighting on all those fronts, plus what I said before, Raebiger could have a major injury, spend another season Division 4, get completely forgotten about, etc., etc., but Messi will always be Messi, and he will never have more... That says move. He will never have more rookie cards ever produced, unlike Raebiger, who will still have hundreds of different rookie cards produced. Messi is down to 7 or 10, depending on how you want to split up the populations on the Campio or Campione sets, but he has 7 or 10 rookies. There will never be any more, and his value theoretically is just tied to the market conditions, the amount of people that are in the market, the amount of money that's in the market, because he is one of the most popular players in the market, and it will likely stay that way for the foreseeable future given his status and legacy. So that is the reasoning on the why Messi is better than Raebiger side of this argument. So, in conclusion, people are playing this market in multiple different ways, none of which are wrong. When I initially put this poll together, I had it in a mindset that obviously there is one right answer and one wrong answer in this case, but thinking about this a little bit harder and not just doing a knee-jerk reaction, I do see merits to the people on the Raebiger side, and I understand what your play is there. It's not a play I would make. It is inherently very risky in my opinion, but I can see why you would do it, and it does make sense if you're looking at this from a short-term flip perspective as opposed to a long-term hold perspective. If your plan is to buy this for 14K and hold it for 10, 15 years, I think that's a completely different conversation, and I don't think that's a great idea, but to each their own. It's probably not wrong, so to speak, but I think that's really, really, really risky. Anyways, these questions all depend on, like I've said before, your view and your goals in the market. If you're looking for a high risk, high reward, short term type of play, the Raebiger makes much more sense because in the short term, this has a lot more upside than these two do. But if you're looking for the longer term holds with less downside, the Messis are obviously the way to go for the reasons that I described just recently. So, last point here, we might all be in this market for different reasons, but we are all in it to have fun, so enjoy it. I had a video up on my channel today or this morning, ended up taking it down because I think it was just too negative in a sense, and I don't want to be a negative content factory as opposed to putting out content that I think appeals to a different variety of audiences and tries to give a fair opinion to everybody that's in the market and analyzes all angles is a lot better than just trying to stay stuck in my ways and only analyzing things the way I look at analyzing them. So for that reason, that's why that's been taken down, and we're putting up this one instead, and I'm giving some merit to the ultra-modern side, and I understand where you're coming from with this. It does make sense to me. While it's not something I would do, I definitely understand, and it does make some sense if that is the type of play that you want to be making. It's a play that's out there. It makes sense to me. The numbers work out. It is risky, but yes, I understand it. It has its merit. So without dilly-dallying any longer, the next video upcoming will be a set spotlight on the 2013 Icons Messi set. So before I pump that to the moon, if you want to get in on that, go ahead, look in what's out there. I'm just kidding. There's not much to pump on that set, but I will be talking about it in some detail. I think there's a lot of interesting things going on with that set. So I'll be talking about it in the next video, probably over the next few days. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this. Leave a comment down below which of these would you prefer. Would you go for the Raebiger or would you go for the Messis, and give me your reasons why. I'm especially interested to hear from the Raebiger crowd if my reasoning is the reasoning that you also agree with as to why you would choose that. So super interested in seeing your guys' comments on this. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Feel free to subscribe for some more content. Set spotlight on the way soon, hopefully by the end of this week, and I will see you guys in the next video.